What is corporate culture? So we've got a formal sort of definition here that we might need to remember, and we're going to say corporate culture is the system of shared values and beliefs of people within a business. So that's kind of the formal definition, but there's other ways we can think about it which probably make a little bit more sense. But we can say, look, it's a pattern of basic shared assumptions within a business, what everybody in the business assumes to be sort of the way we are. And a really good way to express corporate culture is to think of it as the way we do things around here. So you might have a casual job or be part of a sports team or part of a class at school or a group of friends, and you think to yourself, well, how do we do things around here? How do we interact with each other? How do we treat each other? How do we treat other people who aren't in our group? Well, that's kind of what corporate culture is. And it's important to realize that it's going to be not everybody in the whole group is going to share the exact same culture, but we say overall, for roughly the whole group, here is what the shared values and beliefs are. It's also representative of things that worked well in the past and considered valued within the business. So it's really important to remember that it's actually usually taught to newcomers as the correct way of thinking, feeling, or doing. So if you started at Google, for example, the people that already work at Google will sort of teach newcomers like you the correct way of, how things are done, how you should think, feel, and act when you're working at Google. So what is the impact of corporate culture? Like, how can we sort of see it, I guess? Well, it affects how people behave at work. So you can sort of see a culture by looking at how employees behave when they're at work and their personalities. The person that you are at work might be different to the person you are away from work. And that's part of the culture. You want someone to sort of buy into the personality of everybody at the business, and that is how they act when they're at work. It also impacts their work ethic, so how hard they work. Some cultures are hardworking, some are not. And important to realize that, it could actually be different to how someone behaves in their personal lives. The culture at work can be different to the culture at home. And what businesses are trying to do is to get the person to buy into the culture at work, even if it's different to who you are outside of work. It also affects a business by how people act towards one another. So, not only just employees, but employees at your own level, so sort of co-workers or peers, that's how culture affects how you interact with them, but also how the people at the business interact with employees who are above them and below them in the hierarchy. And it sort of dictates what is considered acceptable communication between people. For example, if it's a sort of low-key culture and you can call each other mate, or you can call your boss mate or buddy or something like that, or have an informal conversation, that's a type of culture. Maybe it's a bit more formal and you have to use sir and madam, and you can't really talk about personal things at work. Well, that's a type of culture. The other couple of ways that it affects how business or the activities of the business are how people act towards customers. So culture affects how employees interact with the customers of the business and the level of customer service. Is it a high service culture or a low service culture? And what is considered to be good or bad service? So some businesses like to go the extra mile. They encourage their staff to really help customers. That's a type of culture. And lastly, culture is really important because it sort of indicates what is or isn't acceptable behavior at work. So basically it dictates what is right and wrong standards of behavior. Are people encouraged to take shortcuts and cheat and steal to make a sale, to con customers? That's a type of culture. Or are employees encouraged to, do the right thing and put the needs of the customer before the needs of the business? That's a type of culture. And overall, what do employees prioritize the most, the profits or the people? And finally, we could say, how can we see corporate culture? You can see it in sort of what employees are prepared to do in order for themselves or the business to benefit.